All right, diving in. Today we're tackling FinOps assessments or financial operations. Just in case you're new to this whole cloud thing, it's all about making sure your organization's cloud spending is actually, working for you, not just throwing money at servers up in the cloud, right?
Exactly. That's the whole point of these FinOps assessments. It's like, how can I put it? It's like grabbing a magnifying glass and taking a close look at your cloud costs and asking yourself, are we getting the most out of every dollar?
I love that analogy. But let's be real for a sec. I've heard people talking about these assessments, and to be honest, they sound kind of intimidating. Where do you even start?
Yeah, I get it. It can definitely seem like a lot at first. But hey, that's where the FinOps framework comes in. Think of it as your trusty roadmap, guiding you towards better management of your cloud finances.
Okay, so we've got our roadmap, but before we hit the gas, let's break it down. What exactly is a FinOps assessment?
Basically, it's all about using a structured approach, like a financial health checkup, but for your cloud. We're talking about measuring how effective your cloud spending actually is, making sure it lines up with what your organization wants to achieve, and of course, finding those areas where you could possibly be doing things a bit more, shall we say, efficiently.
So it's not just about saving money. It's about making sure that every dollar you spend on the cloud is actually doing something for you.
You got it. And the best part, it's not just some theoretical concept. A FinOps assessment can have some real, tangible benefits.
Okay, like what? Give me an example. I'm all about that actionable advice.
Let's say you do a FinOps assessment, right? And you find out that, surprise, your organization's cloud usage means you actually qualify for a much sweeter deal with your provider. Bam! Lower rates, better terms, saving a whole bunch of money just by having that data at your fingertips.
See, that's the kind of stuff that gets people excited about FinOps. Real results.
Totally. And that's just one example. We're talking about benchmarking your performance, figuring out what needs improving first, and getting everyone on the same page when it comes to those cloud costs.
This is starting to sound less scary and more must-have.
You're getting it. And since we're on the topic of must-haves, let's dive into the key stages of a FinOps assessment.
Okay, guide me through it. What's the first step?
First up, define assessment goals. It's all about being crystal clear. Before you even start, you need to know where you're heading. Are you trying to see how you stack up against other organizations, your competitors? Or maybe you want to optimize spending on a specific cloud service that's eating up your budget. Or, and this is a big one, maybe you're trying to get your finance and engineering teams to, play nice when it comes to the cloud.
So it's like setting your destination before you even start the car. Otherwise, you're just driving around aimlessly.
Nailed it. Once those goals are locked in, we move on to, and get ready for it, set assessment baseline.
Ooh, sounds official.
Well, it's all about laying that solid foundation for a killer assessment. This is where you figure out how you're actually going to measure your current situation, what tools and methods you're going to use, and who needs to be involved.
Got it. So it's like taking a snapshot of where you're at right now so you can track how far you've come later on.
Exactly. That baseline is your measuring stick for success. And then comes the really fun part, the ongoing magic continuous assessment.
Wait, hold on. Continuous. How often are we talking about here?
Think of a baby, taking their first steps, a little wobbly at first, but they get there. That's crawl in the FinOps world. You're just starting out. Things are pretty simple, cloud-wise, and a yearly assessment. That's a good place to start. Dip your toes in the water.
Okay, so you're building that foundation. What's next? Time to, break out the running shoes.
Hold your horses, not quite run yet, we're talking walk now. So as your organization starts to really use the cloud more, things naturally, get a bit more, complex. Maybe you're using a bunch of different cloud services, or you've got multiple teams all working in the cloud at the same time.
Things get a little more crowded.
Exactly. More moving parts, for sure. And that's when you want to step up the pace of those assessments. Instead of just once a year, maybe think about doing it twice a year, or even every quarter. The key here is to be consistent. You want a structured approach so you can easily look back and see how things are changing over time and compare across different parts of your organization.
Like if you're measuring something, you want to use the same ruler every time so you know you're getting accurate results, right?
Bingo. And at this walk stage, you might even have a dedicated FinOps person on your team, someone who's really in the thick of it, making sure those assessments are top-notch.
A FinOps champion in the house. I like it. Okay, so we've crawled, we've walked. Bring on the marathon. What's run look like in this scenario?
Yeah. Run. That's when you're really hitting your stride. We're talking complex, large-scale cloud usage. Think like constant optimization, fine-tuning, making every single cloud resource count.
So those assessments are probably like second nature at that point, huh?
For sure, we're talking quarterly assessments at a minimum. And get this, at this level, you might even have like mini FinOps champions embedded within different teams, spreading the knowledge, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Wow, so it becomes ingrained in the company culture. I'm sensing a theme here. FinOps isn't just about spreadsheets and numbers. It's about the people, the collaboration.
100%. And honestly, that whole collaborative spirit, super crucial when it comes to actually doing something with all those insights from your assessments. Because what's the point of all that data if it's just going to sit on a shelf and gather dust?
Totally. It's all about taking action, making those changes.
Mhm.
But that makes me wonder, who are the key players in this whole FinOps assessment game? Who's making it all happen?
Like you said, it's a team effort. You've got your dedicated FinOps practitioners leading the charge. But to really knock it out of the park, you need everyone on board, from product management to finance, procurement, the engineering folks, even the bigwigs at the top.
Whoa, so we're talking like a cross-functional dream team.
Exactly. Let's break down a few of these all-star roles, starting with those FinOps practitioners. They're like the conductors of this FinOps orchestra, making sure everyone's playing in sync.
So not just hiding behind their spreadsheets, they're out there making things happen.
Absolutely. They're the ones making sure those assessments are done right, training other team members, and most importantly, they're taking all those assessment results and turning them into actionable goals for the entire organization.
Bridging the gap between the data and the doing. That's huge.
Mhm.
Now, what about product? Where do they fit in with all of this?
So product, they're the ones who are building the stuff that we're all using, right? Exactly. They're the ones down in the trenches working with those cloud services day in and day out. They know what works, what doesn't work, what's actually doable.
So they're not just like passively reading assessment reports. They're actually part of the process.
100%. They bring that real world experience to the table. They can be like, hey, this recommendation looks good on paper, but if we actually try to do this, it's going to totally mess up our workflow. It's that bridge between, the FinOps theory and actually putting it into practice.
I'm totally getting that. And they can become those FinOps champions within their teams, right?
Yes. The more we can integrate FinOps into that product development cycle, the better. They can push for solutions that are actually cost effective, make sure their teams aren't like wasting cloud resources, even bring that FinOps mindset into how they plan their sprints.
Love it. Okay, now we can't forget about the folks who handle the money, right?
Yeah.
What about finance?
Yeah.
How do they fit into this whole FinOps thing?
They're critical. Finance brings that big picture financial expertise to the table, They're thinking about budgets, forecasts, making sure all this cloud spending actually makes sense for the organization's financial goals.
So it's not just about the cloud costs in isolation. It's about how they fit into the bigger financial picture.
You got it. They're the ones who can help develop those key performance indicators,
Mhm.
KPIs, track what happens financially when you make changes based on the assessments, and they can really show the value of all the awesome FinOps stuff you're doing.
Music to a CFO's ears. Okay, now what about procurement? They're all about finding those deals, right?
Absolutely. And in the cloud world, that means getting the best possible contracts with those cloud providers. And FinOps assessments, gold mines for procurement.
Oh, tell me more.
Think about it. Once you really understand how you're using the cloud, what you actually need, where you can be more efficient, you're in a way better spot to negotiate.
You can go in with the data and say, this is what we need, this is what we'll pay, and here's why.
Exactly. Procurement can use those insights to get better pricing, look at different buying options, maybe even uncover some hidden savings while they're at it.
So smart. Okay, let's talk about the folks who are actually building and managing this cloud infrastructure, the engineers.
They're the ones who can really make a difference when it comes to FinOps.
Because they're the ones making those daily decisions that actually affect cloud costs.
You got it. But it's not about just telling engineers to spend less. It's about giving them what they need to make smart decisions about costs right from the start. FinOps assessments give them those insights so they can design things better, choose the right tools for the job, and make sure they're not going overboard on resources.
It's about making them part of the FinOps conversation.
Exactly. When engineers understand the why behind FinOps, they become these amazing partners in optimizing cloud costs.
We've covered a lot of ground, but we can't forget about the folks at the top, leadership. What's their role in all of this?
Leadership sets the tone for the whole organization. If they don't buy into FinOps, if they don't see the value, Good luck getting anyone else excited about it.
Totally. So how can leaders really become FinOps champions in their organizations?
It starts with making it crystal clear that managing cloud finances is a priority, not something you do if you have time. They have to walk the walk, back up their words with action, and give the FinOps team the resources and support they need.
So it's about building a culture where everyone feels responsible for cloud costs, not just leaving it all to the FinOps team.
Exactly. Leaders can make FinOps goals part of the overall business goals, recognize and reward teams for their FinOps wins, and create a culture where everyone's open about cloud spending and accountable for it.
Awesome. So we've assessed, analyzed, collaborated, but how do we actually measure if a FinOps assessment program is working? Is it just about how much money we saved?
Great question. Cost savings are obviously important, but there's more to it than that. Remember, FinOps is about getting the most value from your cloud investment.
So there's more to it than just the bottom line. What other signs of success should we be looking for?
The FinOps framework actually lays out specific KPIs for each area you're assessing. Beyond those, you can track things like how many assessments you've completed, how many teams are actively involved, even how many people have been trained on FinOps principles.
It's like measuring how far that FinOps impact reaches, that shift towards being more financially savvy about the cloud.
Exactly. A successful FinOps assessment program isn't just about checking a box, it's an ongoing journey of always finding ways to improve.
I love that. Okay, for anyone listening who's thinking, all right, I'm ready to jump into FinOps, what's your number one piece of advice?
Just get started. Don't overthink it. Don't let it overwhelm you. The FinOps Foundation has a ton of great resources like that FinOps assessment, FinOps framework capability document we've been talking about. Use that as your guide, take a look at where you're at, and start building from there.
Amazing advice. Start small. Figure out your baseline. Then keep learning. Keep trying new things. Keep getting better. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. The FinOps community is super supportive, so reach out, ask your questions, learn from what other people have experienced.
Couldn't agree more. We're all in this together, right?
And on that note, we're wrapping up this deep dive into FinOps assessments. We hope you've learned some valuable things and feel ready to start optimizing your own cloud spending. Until next time, happy cloud navigating.